welcome to Magic by Design. If this is your first time listening, first of all, welcome. It's great to have you with us. Magic by Design is a podcast in which we are aiming to watch and review every Disney animated feature film. Each and every week, we break down a movie from the Disney canon in an attempt to discover the secrets behind the magic. We watched Disney's 21st animated feature this week, Robin Hood, a furry take on the classic folktale. But before we visit Sherwood Forest, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Ken, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host / brother. He's the little John to my Robin Hood. He's Garrett. Little Gar, how are you?
How dare you?
But you are little compared to me.
We all know. I'm like the same height as you. You back down.
Well, like, not little in terms of stature, but in terms of the chronology of our birth.
Yeah, I'm totally the Robin Hood of this relationship. Don't you suggest otherwise?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll be little Ken.
Sure, tiny Ken.
I back down quickly on that one.
Baby Ken. Thereby clearly making you out to be the little John and me to be the Robin Hood of this relationship.
Podcast over.
There you go. This is like the 6th time. I think every episode you cancel the podcast after like 3 minutes when I say something mean to you.
Yeah, I don't know why I do this to myself.
By the way, you introduced it as a furry take on Robin Hood. I think a furry take on Robin Hood would look very different.
Yes, we'll get on to that later.
And I'd probably watch that too.
Well, you know, there's some merit to that.
We should do furry versions of all these Disney movies. Because especially the ones with the freaking animals, very easy.
Very easy. It's a furry's wet dream.
Yeah. You don't even have to do much. You don't even have to adapt that stuff. Just have to get the costumes.
Gar, Robin Hood. Had you seen this one before?
No. I haven't seen any of these films I've come to realize. We're 21 in. And I don't think I've seen like a single one of these in its entirety.
We're getting closer to the modern day, to an era where you might have been you weren't in existence, but these would have been, shown when you were younger. So I would have thought this one would have been around because it's a fairly popular one.
Like, there are films I'm aware of, like Bambi. There are films that I obviously have seen parts of and know the cultural references of, like The Jungle Book. And then there's just films like this, where it's just like, I know Robin Hood. Robin Hood has obviously been adapted. You said Sherlock Holmes is the most adapted thing in the history of mankind. I think it's Robin Hood.
Tarzan is up there as well.
Yeah, there's tons. Like, I was reading about Robin Hood, and long before there was television or books or any of that about Robin Hood, there was like plays and short stories and multiple different versions of Robin Hood. There's been thousands. There's so many Robin Hoods. I couldn't possibly read it all, of course, Ken. That's the reason I haven't. But yeah, I haven't seen any of these films, is what I've come to realize. Nothing before the 90s. I was like, everything before I was born didn't happen. Actually, no, Beauty and the Beast was 1990, wasn't it?
1992.
I thought Little Mermaid was 92.
That was 89.
Oh, so Little Mermaid is the one I've probably seen before I was born.
Yeah.
There you go. Other than that, I'm just like, screw these old Disney films. Why would I watch them? I got fancy new ones.
This is actually what I have on DVD. It's not in my heavy rotation, but I do return to it from time to time. It's a fun romp with a lot of laughs, Scare.
Do you have heavy rotations?
Yeah, Hercules, The Lion King, Aladdin.
When was the last time you watched Hercules?
I would say within the last 3 years.
Because I remember we watched it one night.
Yes, we did.
On TV when we were doing a little Disney rewatch. I think we did that. We definitely did The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, because over here we have Sky. Yes. And Sky have a Disney channel. Uh-huh. And they showed all the Disney.
They have a Disney
features.
channel in America too. But do you mean the Disney movies thing?
Yeah. They still have it though. So the license must still be in effect, because I would have thought they would have pulled that with Disney Plus.
I'm excited because we're 21 in out of, what is it, 40 something?
58.
58. So we're nearly halfway there, kinda. But by the time we're done, obviously we'll do Pixar. Then we'll do the Toon movies, the B movies, and then we'll move on to the real top tier of Disney movies, the Disney Channel movies. So, we'll eventually just evolve into a Disney. We'll be reviewing Minutemen and Camp Rock and Lemonade Mouth and High School Musical and all these wonderful films. Actually, High School Musical doesn't. Oh no, the first two are. Yeah, the third one's theatrical.
By the time we get to that, though, we'll have to change the title to Magic by Design.
Hey, don't you question the magic of those films? The Camp Rock 2, all these amazing Disney Channel films that I've probably watched. Recess the movie. That was that a Disney Channel? Did that get a theatrical release?
I don't think it did. I think it was just a Disney Channel one.
Or maybe a straight to DVD.
But there were several Recess movies. I didn't realise that.
Yeah, there's School's Out and there's Recess movie.
There might have been a theatrical release in there.
Surely they were like, Recess is popular. They should bring back Recess. I'm surprised they haven't brought back Recess.
I think, maybe I'm wrong now, because there's a lot of classic tunes being brought back, but I heard a rumour that they're going to do it again.
They should do a live action Recess.
Oh, that would be good.
I think that would do well.
Disney Plus, you wouldn't put it on the theatres.
No, as in as a TV show.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, a live action Recess. Look at us programming for you, Disney. Come on.
You're welcome.
All the more reason to hire us. We might bury your movies every so often after that terrible Aristocats episode, but we will at least give you wonderful ideas for content.
Yeah, I feel like we're on the upward slope a little bit this week again, though. It's kind of a meh period, but this was quite good.
There you go.
Gary, you'll be interested to hear an idea to adapt Robin Hood into an animated feature dated back to the time of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs when that was in production.
So the first one.
Yes.
They're like, let's do Robin Hood.
Or some version of Robin Hood. The idea was repeatedly shelved until writer and production designer Ken Anderson incorporated ideas to pitch.
I've thrown you off entirely with my Anderson interjection.
Damn it, Gary, I'm doing so well this week.
Curse it. If his name was anything, well, actually, no, it was Kennedy. I'd do the same bit.
Yeah, anyway, he pitched to do The Legend of Robin Hood using anthropomorphic animals rather than, humans during the production of the Aristocats. Robin Hood was released in November 1973. It received positive reviews by critics who praised the voice cast, animation, and humour, yet its critical reception became gradually mixed after its release. So,
why?
I don't know. In more modern times, people just don't see it in the same light.
I think it's okay. I don't think it's particularly special. I don't think it's particularly bad. It's one of those right in the middle movies.
I wouldn't call it quite a B movie. Maybe somewhere in the middle.
No, it's a B movie.
Calling it B.
I'm calling it a B movie. And in terms of quality.
I'm going to call it B+.
No, it's a B movie. It's perfectly solid.
That's fine, Gar.
Perfectly. It's in there with the Dumbos and the Lady and the Tramps as one of those perfectly affable, enjoyable films that's kind of pointless.
The film was a box office success. It made $32 million. That's $187 million in 2020 off a budget of $6 million, which is $35 million. So good profit there.
Yeah, Disney are back. As I said, this is why they're not phoning it in. They're still making relatively detailed animated films, but it's cheaper now because we can just churn them out and people will still like them.
Lower production costs means higher profits.
How does this animal world work?
I don't know, Gar.
Because all the rhinos are guards, right? So does that mean all the rhinos have to be guards?
Yeah.
Same with turkeys?
When they're born, yeah.
And
those are buzzards, I think, Gar.
Are they no, they're turkeys. They look like turkeys. I'm going to stick with turkeys.
Okay.
So,
well, Gar, based on the fact that I have a note here, they basically copied all the characters from the previous 4 films that they've done. I think they're buzzards.
Hey, that tree was also in this film at one stage.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure. The buzzard tree.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure has been in another film. They have the same tree. It's like that empty branch tree, like a witching tree kind of thing.
I will say I really liked the opening sequence. It had that classic song and it was one of the more memorable in Disney history, but they really stayed in their lane with this one. The characters being represented by animals.
What classic? Oh yeah, the whistling one. Yeah. Is that a song? It's more of a ditty.
It's a ditty, yeah,
a tune, which I didn't know came from this film. Obviously, I was like, was this a thing beforehand? Is this a common ditty? It's like, no, it's from Robin Hood.
Yeah, I blew your mind with that last night.
I won't whistle on the podcast in case it is horrible for people's ears.
Yeah,
but
assault their ears.
It's been in, as you said, been in countless ads. It's one of those things. Again, if we're going to talk about the cultural legacy of this film, that's probably it.
Yeah.
That one song, and it's like, oh yeah, that came from this. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but as I said, they really stuck with their animals this time. Because if we look at the Aristocats, they're less shown up by the cheaper animation.
Yes, it doesn't look as bad. They tried more.
I'd imagine there may have been designs to adapt Robin Hood with human characters at some point, but there's just no desire to pull it off at this point.
It's Peter Pan. Robin Hood and Peter Pan are very similar characters design-wise.
Yeah, and
it's the green tunic. They're linked too, all 3 of them.
And in terms of motivation as well.
Yeah. The Link is based on Robin Hood, isn't he?
Link?
Yeah.
I guess he would be.
From The Legend of Zelda. No, I think he is, like the green tunic and the bow. I think, or is it Peter Pan he based them off? It's one or the other.
Maybe it's both.
I know the design of Link was inspired by one of them. It's probably Peter Pan. He looks more like Peter Pan.
Yeah. I felt there was a bit of laziness in this film. I suppose.
Laziness.
Economy, sorry, Karen.
Yes.
In this, where they...
Corner cutting.
They reused character designs. There's a sequence during the phony King of England song. It looked like they reused a lot of character designs from previous movies, but also the alley cats in Aristocats, because there was a bunny who was playing the drums, who looked exactly like the Asian cat from the Aristocats, and then they had
They just palette swapped it?
Yeah, and then they had a cat playing some kind of wood instrument. It looked exactly like the what's that instrument? Saxophone.
There you go.
Playing cat from the Aristocats. In fact, he was Scat Cat.
There you go.
So yeah.
I thought the animation in this film looked fine.
It looked fine.
I thought it was a step up from the prior 2.
I thought so too, but it was a bit sketchy at times, but that's to do with the process. It just kind of...
And that kind of work, like when you're in forests and trees, you can have that kind of thing. It's like, there's branches. Don't worry about it.
because when you do that kind of cheap style of animation where you're doing the photocopying of cells and you're not cleaning up as much, it does get a bit scruffy at times, but
not nearly as bad as the woman from the Aristocats, which is like the low bar of these films. Like, this looks so bad.
The melting woman.
Yes.
There's no melting characters, we're happy to report in this one. Moving on here to the story and the themes. This started life in the early days as an adaptation of the tales of Reynard the Fox. Reynard the Fox is a series of 12th century allegories about an anthropomorphic red fox and trickster figure. His adventures usually involve him deceiving other anthropomorphic animals for his own advantage or trying to avoid their retaliatory efforts.
So that's where the animals came from.
Yeah.
So it started as that, and then they're like, let's keep the animals, but Robin Hood.
Yeah. His main enemy and victim across the cycle is his uncle, or the wolf, in Sengrim, hence the character of the sheriff being a wolf.
Was that a wolf?
Yeah.
Couldn't tell what animal the sheriff of Nottingham was.
While the character of Reynard appears in later works, the core stories were written during the Middle Ages by multiple authors and are often seen as parodies of medieval literature, such as courtly love stories or heroic deeds, as well as a satire of political and religious institutions.
Which means I wouldn't get it. It's like, if you read it, it's like, oh, I don't get these references, whereas someone in the 1200s is like, oh, look, this is like my life.
The king is like that.
It's like Scary Movie to Scream, basically. That was the original. Like, we wouldn't, if you haven't seen Scream, you don't really get Scary Movie, and if you haven't read the heroic tales, you don't really get Reynard the Fox. Just compared something to Scream and Scary Movie.
Well done, Gary.
The cultural pillar that is Scary Movie and Scary Movie 2. How many did they go for? There's like 5 of them, isn't there?
6, I think.
And I Know What You Did. What's the name of that film? I Know What You Did during the summer.
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Last summer, which is basically the same film. It's like, hey, you can't just do Scary Movie and then also I Know What You Did Last Summer. Isn't there I Know What You Did Last Summer 2 as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's like spoof films of all those films. They don't make them anymore though, really, do they?
No, they were easy money for a time.
Yeah.
You know, like, people would go see them, they'd make a decent gross, but I think the time has passed for them.
It was a nice little idea. There's like, whatever the popular film is now, we'll just do a spoof of it. And it'll be good fun and everyone will have a laugh.
If you look at their grosses, they slide as they go on. While the Aristocats was in production, Ken Anderson began exploring possibilities. Stop trying to throw me off, Gar.
No, I'm committed to the bit, Ken.
Ken Anderson began...
You said the name twice. You went back to the name.
Anyway, Gar, he began exploring possibilities for the next film. Studio execs favoured a classic tale as the subject for the next film. Anderson suggested the tales of Robin Hood.
Is this after the disaster that was their original attempt at Aristocats? It's like, go back to something people already know and we can steal.
Yes, this was received well by the suits in charge. They're like, yes, safe.
Especially Robin Hood, which is royalty free, so you can do whatever you want with Robin Hood. Like, actually, Robin Hood doesn't. He probably does have an original creator, obviously. No, actually, that's a disputed thing about whether Robin Hood was an actual person. There is many different like people who could have been Robin Hood, and it's not really like the steal from the rich, give to the poor stuff. It's more of the basically an outlaw bandit stealing from rich people kind of thing that people think might have been the original Robin Hood. Basically, hustlers and thieves in the like early 1300s before the actual tale of Robin Hood became a folk tale. So there is much debate about whether or not there was a real Robin Hood on which these stories are inspired. But yeah, I'm sure there's an original creator in there somewhere. It's been lost to time. It's interesting how that's been lost to time, you know?
And Jesus hasn't.
Yeah, well, Jesus...
We know he existed, I suppose.
Yeah, he's a real person. And people still talk about his story 2,000 years later. Good for Jesus. I hope people still talk about this podcast 2,000 years later.
Garrett, that's when our time will come and we'll be long dead.
Yes, it will be very famous in 4026 AD. They will. Do you think we'll roll over the dating convention by then? I'm going to say yeah. Actually, no, we won't exist by then. The heat death of the universe will have happened by then. Actually, I know, I don't think it will.
No, that's like millions of years away.
Something will kill us off by then. We'll be hit by a meteor or something, or of course, the more pressing global warming. But I wonder when we will reset the dating convention. Because like we did do BC and AD. Well, BC and AD is a retcon, isn't it? It's like, all right, we're doing a new thing. This is AD. Everything before it was BC. Everything makes sense.
How long did BC last?
I don't know, millions of years. But BC wasn't a thing until AD came along.
Yeah.
Like when they recreated that dating convention to start again from zero, it's just like everything before now is BC.
Right. So like maybe if we find out how long BC lasts, we can figure out how long AD will last.
But as I said, BC wasn't a thing.
No, it's AD now, isn't it?
Yes, but BC was only created when AD was created.
Fascinating.
Like, they did not call the year before 1 AD 0 BC, and the year before that -1, you know, or 1 BC. That's not how it worked. They didn't count down the years until they moved it over. So I wonder, when will we create this is the Gregorian calendar? Roman calendar? I don't know.
Well,
I learned about this in school. I should know these things.
The US have a lot of influence, and they're like, but that's Jesus. We want Jesus time.
Yeah, but Jesus will eventually fade away. Like, there will be a time when Jesus will fade into the status of gods and myths. He'll be up there with Thor and all those other people. It's a matter of time. Like, Hades and Zeus and all those fun stuff that people actually believed in years ago, but now we accept as stories and mythology. And eventually Jesus will be a Marvel character, is what I'm saying.
He's going to join the MCU.
It's inevitable.
But then what will he be replaced by? Aliens?
Aliens? Well, but we have...
Well, like, you see a growing simulation theory cult growing.
Because, like, we believe that our belief system, it's recency bias. It's the actual definition of recency bias, not the fake. People think recency bias means just you remember things more recently than, or more clearly. Things that you remember more recent are more clear. But that's not what recency bias is. Recency bias is the belief that what has happened in the near past will continue to happen in the near future. And for all we know, all of our faith systems could blow up in 2 years. You know, it could happen. It's unlikely, but it could.
That's interesting. Would you like to continue talking about this or Robin Hood?
Well, this goes back to Robin Hood, which is a folktale that doesn't have an original creator. Like, you can track the creator of the Bible. It was written by the apostles. Was it? So it's Ken's conspiracy theory now. And
I'm Dan Brown.
Yeah, and like it's interesting that you can't track the original creator of Robin Hood, I don't believe. And again, we don't even know, was Robin Hood a real person? We think he might have been. We think there are people consider a number of candidates based on the name, and like Robin Hode, and like, fun fact, Ken, someone named Hood would have made hoods.
A hood maker.
Yeah, a hooder.
Named after their profession. Anyway, Anderson.
You cut me off.
I'm cutting you off.
Stealing my bit.
He blended his ideas of Robin Hood with the Tales of Reynard by incorporating the fox character, and the key tenet is that he could still be slick and tricky, but he would use the skills that he has to protect the community. So
I love Robin Hood in this film.
He's fantastic.
He's such a fraud in the best way.
Such a grifter.
Yeah, it's just like, hello, here's my latest costume that I will trick you with. It's like, it's you know, like modern, like if you watch the, 2018 Robin Hood film, 2017, whatever that one,
yeah,
with Taron Egerton, it's like Robin Hood's this like badass archer soldier. And in this, he is the archer, but that the archer is like shoved to the side. Like his primary skill in this film is his mastery of this. He's a performer more than he is like some badass super soldier. It's a fun take on that character. It's just like, he's not shooting people down with his bow. His bow skills are literally entirely for show pretty much in this film. What he's really doing is mastering disguises and tricking people. It's great.
Yeah, he has a roguish, charming, grifter kind of feel to him, but he also has like a warmth. You know, he wants to do good, and I just feel like the influence of Reynard actually enhanced the character of Robin Hood.
Well, there was also always like Robin Hood. Well, not always actually. There's some debating and like the steal from the rich to give to the poor. A part of Robin Hood's character wasn't always there. It was a later adaptation, as is the loyalty to King Richard as opposed to the other guy, Prince
John.
There's a song about him. I should remember his name. Yeah, Prince John. So yeah, some of those character traits came in later versions of Robin Hood. So, but yeah, the steal from the rich, give to the poor thing was always there. Did you know actually, I looked this up. I think it's an Indiana senator banned Robin Hood tried to ban Robin Hood because of communism. Like the Disney film. It's like, stop. This is preaching the values of communism. Giving money to poor people and taking it from the rich is communist. And we should not allow children to watch this film.
Well, of course, this wouldn't be peak McCarthyism, but it would have been the hangover of the aftermath of
it. There's like the hangover from McCarthyism. It's like there was a senator who's like, we cannot allow our children to watch this communist propaganda. It's like, Robin Hood, really? Just the idea of supporting poor people, especially if you watch Robin Hood, where it's just like the evil characters are so like comically like capitalist. So actually, no, it's not really. It's more government overreach than anything else. They never if anything, they should, like, this film is like anti-taxes more than it is anything else. If anything, like, the Republicans should love the idea of Robin Hood.
But they love taxes, except for...
But in theory, they're
themselves.
like government overreach, taxes are bad, free market, which is kind of like, that's in there. Like, like people rise up over because of repressive tax regimes in this film. That's what this film is about.
Yeah, he literally taxed them all their money at one stage.
Yeah, so governments should, or like Republicans should have loved this. Instead, it's like poor people not being oppressed. Oh, can't let people know about this stuff.
Yeah, Gar, you touched on it there. I think the real strength of this film is the character design. Prince John is...
Did I touch on it there?
Well, you said that. Not character design, the character... What's the word? The writing, the characters, yeah. The characterization.
I was just ranting about taxes.
Prince John is a wonderful, snivelling villain.
I love Prince John.
Great performance by Peter Ustinov.
I love Prince John. He's the best. He's just so, like, comically over the top. And, like, like the first scene in this film is him, like, counting his money, being like, taxes! My wonderful taxes! It's like, this is great. What a villain. What a great villain. And it's like, not that he's not sinister, he's not menacing, he's not smart, he's none of those things. He is just stupidly evil in a way that's very comical, and that's great. Like, Maleficent is big and scary, and you know, you get Jafar and you get Hades. Even Hades is more on the funny side, but this is just an absolute ignoramus who is in a position of power that he has no right to, and he stole, and he is abusing it on every level in a way that is absurd and stupid, and he is counting his money and shouting, taxes, sweet taxes. I love Prince John. He's the best thing about this film.
Yeah, he basically seizes power in a bloodless coup by getting Ka. Ka. He's basically Ka.
What's with the snakes and their hypnotism powers?
Yeah.
Why can all snakes in Disney films hypnotize people?
So many snakes that can hypnotize people. Like, I think there's like 3 films in a row with snakes that can hypnotize people.
Where did that come from?
No
Is that
idea.
like a trope with snakes?
I guess so, like snake charmers and stuff like that.
But that's charmers charming snakes. They're hypnotizing the snakes. When did the snakes suddenly become the ones that can be hypnotized?
I don't know.
Or can do the hypnotizing even?
Maybe it's a bit, because like a trope.
They're reversing the trope is what you're
Exactly.
saying. It's subversive until they did it for a third time, in which they have created their new trope and they will drive it into the ground.
Anyway.
They have the same eyes every time as well. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, which they developed in the package era, you might remember.
The hypnotism is like a weird part of this film as well.
Yeah.
It's just like, we've hypnotized the real king and he's off at a crusade. What crusade? I don't know.
Yeah, we sent him off on the crusade. That's they kind of indicate that they trick him into going on a crusade that's fruitless.
Yes, but like, and then the hypnotism kind of goes away. Actually, no, he hypnotizes Prince John at one stage as well.
Sir Car, Sir Hiss is the right-hand man.
Yes.
The thing about Prince John, I know, is like the ill-fitting crown is very subtle, but it's an excellent touch because it shows that he doesn't deserve the crown and he's not the real king.
He has no right to this power,
Yeah.
which makes it all the better that he's so absurdly bad with it.
Also, Prince John is an easily gotten to wannabe dictator with a mommy complex. Does that remind you of anyone, Gar?
Probably all dictators, to be fair.
Again, like, all the notes I have here in the story are characters. The sheriff, he's super slimy. You just want to see him get his comeuppance as well.
I don't know. Sheriff is like, ugh.
Yeah. Gar, this was originally envisioned to be set in the American Deep South.
Is that where the accents come
Yeah,
from?
this may explain the music, and some of the, like half of them are British, half of them are...
Like, this is,
Southern.
and like, the film is set in Nottingham. It's like, that's where it's set. It's set in England. And you'd only like the king and the Hiss have English accents, and the rest of them kinda don't. So it's like, alright.
Well, Robin has one.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
So there you go. And everyone else doesn't.
We have Phil Harris for the 3rd film in a row doing Phil Harris.
Playing a bear again.
Yeah.
He's just like, we'll go back to the basics. It's like, alright, we have a bear in this film. Who can play it? Phil?
And Phil's like, I'm available.
Look for the Robin Hood.
One of the notes I had here, Gar, they say oodalani a lot, as in like a saying. I was like, was this a common saying in ye old England?
Was it?
No, it was not. It was a common saying in 1950s America.
Oodalani.
Yeah.
As in like a yeehaw kind of thing,
like,
is it?
oh boy.
Oodalani, 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 go. It's in some songs. Yeah. Who says oodalani? That's not a good word. There are words that sound nice, and you're like,
I always thought it was oodalali.
Is it oodalali?
No,
It
it's
might be.
Lanny. It's Lanny. I checked
There you
it.
go. Like, I understand why someone would like to shout yeehaw at the top of their lungs. That's kind of fun. It's like, yeehaw. See? Good. Oodalani. It doesn't even sound nice at your mouth. It has bad mouthfeel, Ken. We all know the most important thing about words is mouthfeel.
I don't think you want to say mouthfeel too many times on a podcast.
Mouthfeel. Moist. Moist mouthfeel. Who doesn't love some moist mouthfeel? I'm attacking our listeners.
Gary, you know how to join this film as well. They reuse a lot of the same animation, especially with the royal procession.
There's a bit in the royal procession where there's like a 2-second loop. It's like a GIF almost. It's like 2-second loop, and they repeat it again. And it's like, all right.
Yeah, you see a lot of looping in this film if you look very closely.
I wonder, like, if they took that out. This film is 74 minutes long, I think, give or take. If they took that out, the film would be like 72. You know, it's like, do you really need that in there? Because it's a couple of frames. It's not like, we filter. It's not like you're watching Digimon and it's like, and now they digivolve and there's like 2.5 minutes of our 20-minute episode. That's 10% of the work done by including the same old digivolution sequence. That I understand because, you have to churn out 50 episodes of this in a year, so you might as well kill 2 minutes every week. Here it's like a couple of frames of animation repeated. It's just like, just leave it out. You cut 2 minutes out of it. Probably not even 2 minutes out of it if you cut out all the repeated animation.
You mentioned there, Robin Hood and Little John are masters of disguise. Where do they get the costume budget from? Because they're not exactly rich. They're giving away all their money.
Because they're stealing so much money from people. They clearly when they steal like 7 different bags, they're like, all right, now this is the costume bag. This is the poor bag. This goes to the church. This is for our food. And this is so I can make Marion love me.
I also had a question. It's like, they live in the forest. Where do they store all their costumes?
They have houses. How do you know they don't have houses?
They don't have houses. They live in the forest to evade capture.
But how do you know they don't have a house in the forest? They don't show it. Do you need everything shown to you, Ken?
Because they have a camp car.
Yeah, but
that's where they live.
That's their temporary residence when they are grifting and thrifting and robbing people. No, He's Robin Hood. Robin.
He's Robin from the rich.
Given to the poor.
Speaking of evading capture, Little John and Robin evade capture for so long, as in they're like outlaws, they've never been captured, only to fall for the obvious trap of an archery competition.
In fairness, they recognize it's a trap, but also Robin Hood is very horny. So realistically...
It's a typical male hubris. It's like, I won't get caught.
I just want Marion. She's there. I gotta go. I was like, Marion? She's there? It's like, what if this is... Like, they do actually say, it's like, oh, it might be a trap. But he's like, but Marion.
Yeah, during that whole sequence, I have some notes here. Little John isn't messing around. He isn't afraid to hold Prince John at knife point when shit hits the fan.
Yeah. And like, there's a period where he just grabs one of the definitely turkeys and not vultures, just pulls them over the wall. It's like, it's probably dead.
Little John is violent.
Listen, when you're dealing with a horrible dictatorship, sometimes the resistance has to be violent, Ken. That's just the way it works.
In another bout of cognitive dissonance, there's an American football sequence in a movie set in England.
Strange. It's set in, it's like, not even soccer would have been invented in the time when this film was set. Like, sport didn't really exist. Sport is a relatively modern, it's a relatively modern creation.
Archery would have been sport back then.
Yeah, so archery would have been a sport, sure. But what we consider sport is relatively modern, and most of the sports that we watch are 200 years old or younger. So
I just feel like that's one of the issues with this film. It kind of lived in two worlds, because as I said, there was a version of this film that was set in the Deep South. Mm-hmm. Then they decided to stay with England, but then they decided we kind of like elements of that, so we're going to throw that in there as well. Kids don't mind.
But then it's a Robin Hood story, and then it's a whatever the fox is, Renford the Fox story.
Reynard.
Same thing. What's Renford? Wasn't that a TV show?
The Renford Rejects.
Oh, the Renford Rejects.
On Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I watched that show. But that's speaking of football. Yeah, so it is a weird like melting pot of like different sources and different ideas just smushed together. Some of which work, some of which don't. It doesn't really have an overarching theme. It's like, is it? I don't know. Taxes are bad? Is that its overarching theme? Overtaxing people is bad?
Greed is bad?
Power corrupts? But power corrupts is like the most basic theme you could possibly have.
Prince John and Hiss are in somewhat of an abusive relationship. I was thinking through the whole film, why doesn't Hiss just leave him? But he's clearly in love with him.
But also Hiss is like, he's on the pig's back.
Yeah, so maybe it's one of those snivelling villain things where it's like, I know that it's bad, I know that I'm abused, but without the king or the fake king, I'm a lowly peasant, so I'll just suck it up and take the beatings that he deals me on a daily basis.
Or maybe Hiss is the villain all along. Maybe he's influencing everything John does. Maybe John is a good guy. Maybe John is decent and honourable, but Hiss has hypnotized them into doing evil things.
He does hypnotize them at some point, but like there's a thing that Prince... Hypnotize. Well done, Gar. There's a thing that Prince John does when he hears about his mommy. He sucks his thumb and pulls on his ear.
It's great.
And everyone makes fun of it. It's very funny.
It's great. I love Prince John. He's the best. I think he might be better than Maleficent.
Make your case, Gar.
He's just stupid. It's the best.
Yeah, I love a sophisticated villain, but I also love just someone that's evil for evil's sake. It's so cartoonish. It's
evil and dumb, and he's a large child. It's great. I love him.
This film has a low-key third act. They do a good job of building a sense of suspense during their audacious castle rescue and plunder, but it leads to a fun flurry in the climax. So I wouldn't say it follows a kind of a very traditional three-act structure, but I think they do build to a very, very fun climax.
Yeah, I think it kind of does have three clear acts. There's like the beginning, which is all the intro stuff, the middle, which is kind of like the archery contest, and then the end, which is the arrests and jailbreak.
And then they have somewhat of an epilogue where it's like...
Well, it's just the ending. It's like, and they all live happily ever after, and they get married. They drive down the road in their lovely carriage, and then nearly die with an arrow. I suppose they don't nearly die, but an arrow shot in their direction. Bad guys are in jail. Good guys... Balls and chains. They seem very impractical. It's like, all right, in order to keep you where you are, we're going to attach a large, heavy object to your ankle. It's like, there's probably easier ways to do it.
You could, like, they did chain them to the walls as well.
Yeah, see, that's more practical. If we're just going to chain you to the wall, we're not going to get this, like, 100-pound, it'd probably have to be heavier than 100 pounds. However long, how heavy do you think a ball of chain would have to be?
Well, it's not that it has to keep you in the same spot, it just makes it hard to escape.
And dreadfully inconvenient, you can't move quickly.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
But how heavy would it have to be?
I don't know pounds. I don't know weights.
There you go. Ken has said it has to be Ken weight heavy.
Yeah, I'm quite heavy.
It would have to vary probably to be based on height and body weight.
Maybe it'd be like double your own weight. I don't know.
Double your own weight would be very heavy.
I don't know, Gar. I don't make balls and chains for a living.
Maybe you should.
Yeah.
This is your research is falling down, Ken. You haven't extensively researched balls and chains.
Well, the ball and chain is worth looking at because it's due to make a comeback, and I think Donald Trump would be very interested.
You're very Trump today.
Yeah, he's upsetting me. As well, he upsets me every day, but this whole RBG thing has got me
panicked.
Not just riled up, just to kind of... I knew that they're going to do it, but it's just like the hypocrisy of it, just making a rule to suit themselves.
Nobody can do anything. It's the thing, people are like, Democrats should do it, and they should shout from the rooftop, and all they can do is shout from the rooftops. Like, that's all they can do. They have control of the Senate. If they have the numbers, they can force it through, and who cares about democracy or decency or standards or hypocrisy or standing by your word or doing what is right? It's just force it through. Someone should convince Trump that, like, having an open Supreme Court seat is probably better for his own personal re-election, which it might actually be. Like, that's a case that, that might get people to hold their nose and come out and vote, like it probably did last time. So it's like, somebody convince him that not filling that seat is better for him, which it is, but then the backfire of that is, what if that actually does work and it causes people to come out and vote for him and he wins re-election, and there's no winning scenario there.
But it's just Mitch McConnell who came out and he, somewhat tongue-in-cheek dubbed it the Biden rule, where you can't or you shouldn't, it's not right to
fill a vacancy in the final year. But like when Obama tried to do it, it was 10 months. This is like 2 months. Yes, literally. The election is around the corner.
It's never been done this quickly, so literally they'd ram it through for the sake of ramming it through.
They're going to do it in like December. He's going to lose the election and they're going to do it in December.
Yeah.
Democracy.
Well, there's a chance that they might lose the Senate as well, or at least
they still have the numbers until January, Ken.
They have a slim majority though, so if they lose a couple of seats and there's a couple of Republicans who've come out already to say that they won't be confirming anyone. So
the world hangs on the shoulders of Mitt Romney.
Yeah, there's another one.
Like we all hope that Mitt Romney is the man who stands between us. And
there's another guy as well. What was his name? Lindsay or something like that? I can't remember. Like he basically said,
Lindsey Graham.
I think that's the guy. He's like, okay, I agree with this rule. This is the rule now, and if I come back in a few years and try to break the rule, just quote what I said to me, and then he wrote it back.
Yeah, of course, because they don't give a crap. It's whatever benefits them. They don't like that's the problem as we get political on this. Actually, no, Robin Hood's quite a political film. So
it is.
As people get my politics out of my Disney films, Robin Hood's about like corrupt leaders and taxes. So it's perfectly fine. But that's like the problem is so much of American politics is protected by political norms. Political norms, Ken, are not laws. Like this idea that you should not nominate somebody in your final year is bullshit. Why shouldn't you? But the only reason you shouldn't is because they pulled that trick 4 years ago.
So to buy themselves time, then they seize power. Now they're in power.
And they don't care. It's good. Like, everyone knew what it was 4 years ago, and everyone knows what it is today. Like, it's just bullshit so that they can protect their own interests. And that's the problem. All of this is not defined by law, which can be challenged and enforced. And, well, laws aren't even being enforced these days. But even then, it's really like political norms are just made to be broken. Anything that's held together by political norms, by decency, is just made for bad bad actors to tear to shreds. And that's all Trump has done for 4 years. It's like, that's not the way things are done. Trump doesn't care. Like, these people don't care. The entire Republican Party doesn't care anymore. They care about winning. They care about protecting their own power. So they're going to rip together. And, like, people are very critical of, like, Obama in the early years, where he tried to, like, he was still operating on the terms of, like, we are a decent society and you make law with your friends across the aisle and you compromise. And I kind of get where he was coming from, because at that stage, I don't think everything had been ripped to shreds.
No, I think there was some decency in the Republican Party, but like, it's just over the 4 years. It's almost as if they've been emboldened by a leader who just tore up the script and they all just kind of went with it.
This happened long ago. This happened in the first year of Obama. Like, Obama did Obamacare as well as one could possibly. Like, there was all these hearings, there was all the, like, consulting periods. There, like, it was done as by the book as you can. And they were like, you're trying to force through death panels. That was their reaction to, like, the decent, reasonable way of doing this. And at that stage, like, good faith is just out the window. These people are not operating in good faith. And what can you do? Nothing. That's the problem. The world is doomed. We should all go live under Prince John. He's just probably...
At least we know where we stand with Prince John. Yeah. But the thing about RBG that made me sad was, one of the last things she said was that, you know, she hopes that she's not replaced before the election, but also that she clinged to life in the hope that Biden would be elected. She
was clearly in very bad shape for quite a while now. And yeah, just the idea is just like 2 more months. I saw an interview with her, and if you've ever watched that RBG documentary, I recommend it. It's very, very good. I saw the movie.
Yeah. That's the one.
That's not a documentary.
Oh no, the movie. No, there's a documentary about
I saw the biopic, which is pretty good.
Yeah, but like the whole point is that, like, even up until a couple of years ago, you know, she was still sharp. Obviously, still a very prolific and functional Supreme Court judge. But I saw an interview with her last year, and you know, she was struggling to gather her thoughts, and you really felt like she just really was trying to hold on until the end of this term to see if she could, you know, get someone else in there.
Lifetime appointments are bad.
They really are.
Do we have Supreme Court lifetime appointments?
We don't.
It's like 10 years or something, isn't it?
Like, there should either be a term limit, and I wouldn't go as far as saying they should be elected by the people, because judges are elected by people in lower courts in America, and it doesn't work out because people are in there forever and they can politic and corrupt. They're as corrupt as politicians, basically.
Yeah, and also that means you have to basically rule based on, like, the idea of lifetime appointments, I think, is actually relatively sound. Like, the idea is you are no longer, once you're appointed, you're no longer beholden to the people who appointed you, in theory, because in theory, like, they can't remove you. So you should be able to judge fairly because you no longer have a vested interest in, say, being re-elected. So you don't have to like pander to a constituency. But that's just not the way it works in practice.
But then is there a case that eventually, it's like the Pope as well, are they fit to serve? And then,
well, they can stand down. You don't have to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, she could have retired 15 years ago if she wanted.
But she didn't want to do it just because, you know.
I don't know how long she's been in the Supreme Court. It might not even been 15 years.
Oh, it's definitely she's there a long time, but you know, if she retired, then depending on the president of the day, they could replace her with someone more conservative.
But yeah, that's the problem, where it's just like, I don't want to be replaced by someone whose values don't reflect mine, so I'm going to cling on for as long as possible until that is the case.
Yeah,
which is not a healthy way for this to work.
But then,
either.
Like, if there's a precedent for someone stepping down because they're not fit anymore, then you could, you know, the ruling politicians of the day can use it to kind of compromise their authority.
Yeah, the separation of powers.
Yeah. So like, it's a slippery slope, but it's a tough one.
But yeah, there's probably no way. We're doomed. I said, people who operate in bad faith can tear down our democracy and drag us to our worst instincts and cause us to hate each other and be angry all the time and live in a world that is just depressing at all stages. And you can't escape it. And that's what they can do.
Back to the Disney stuff. I'm going to pull you out of that hole.
This is Robin Hood. This is archery. It's fun.
The music of this film, Gar, I liked the country and folk motif for the songs. The rooster narrator, voiced by singer-songwriter Roger Miller, worked really well. I enjoyed his songs especially.
No.
There's the one where they're all in jail. I really like that one.
There's the whistling song is the only song. Like, again, that's my test. It's like, do I remember a single song now tomorrow, the morning after we watch the film? And the answer is just the whistling one. So the rest went through one ear out the other. Yeah, that'll be stuck in your head for days.
You have to finish it once you start. The song Love, which was they've already fallen in love, but there's that section in the movie where they normally fall in love via song.
So they have to put it in there anyway.
And even though they've already fallen in love. That was nominated for Best Song at the 46th Academy Awards, but lost out. And one more note I had here, Gar, the royal procession music that recurred throughout the film was very catchy. Bum, Bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum, bum. No?
I don't know. I don't remember it.
I liked it. In terms of my final thoughts of this film, I think this film still suffers slightly from the cheapness of the animation at times, but it manages to rise above it and produce a fun romp with honest-to-goodness, lovable characters who exude charm and warmth. The film genuinely is one of the funniest films to date, with great set-piece gags, snappy dialogue, and appealing slapstick action.
And Prince John one-liners.
Even Baloo and Robin Hood have some really good one-liners.
Mostly Prince John.
The songs are an unexpected treat, and they'll be stuck in your head for days afterwards. Overall, this is somewhat of a return to form from the declining quality in recent films. It does a lot of things right, and while it's not in my top 10, I do often return to it. You know, I get the inclination to watch it from time to time if I'm looking for some movie comfort food.
You're higher on this than I am.
I like it.
I'm like, I think it's okay. It's pretty good. It's solid enough.
I think it really succeeds in spite of the time that we're in and the fact that they're not really caring anymore.
They do. They do. The people who make this film care about the film.
But the
just that Disney don't.
What I'm saying is the executives don't care and the hierarchy don't care. So it's hard for artists to produce good work when they're under-resourced and don't get the faith that they need.
Yeah. Like, I think this film is fine. Again, mid-tier, perfectly solid. You'll enjoy it, but won't particularly remember it. Disney film.
The legacy of this film is that it has become a fan favourite over the years. People do tend to mention it quite a lot.
I thought you just said earlier in the podcast that it was originally critically acclaimed, but then declined in its critical acclaim.
There's a difference between critical analysis and fan.
Oh, you're like, this film is for the fans. It's not for the critics. Which are we?
We're critics?
If we're at a podcast game, we're inherently critics. You can't pull this as the critics play. We're criticizing these films. We're applying the critical method, which is watching the film and going, oh.
Director Byron Howard. What?
Come on.
Okay, I'm going.
Do it.
Director Byron Howard credits Robin Hood as a major inspiration for the recent Disney animated feature film Zootopia, which we will be doing at some point.
Which I haven't seen. It's actually one of the few modern Disney films I haven't seen.
It's actually really good.
It's also Zootropolis in this part of the world. Come on.
Oh, sorry.
Don't give in to the Americans.
Excuse me. I had a question here. We touched on it earlier. Is this the origins of the furry movement?
Probably not. Like, we watched Wind in the Willows.
Maybe Wind in the Willows is the origins of the furry movement. Yeah, but furries tend to love this when you see a lot of art around the internet. Lanny has endured in pop culture, has been used in many ad campaigns and jingles over the years, as we said.
Oh, the song? I thought you meant the word. It's like, no, the word's gone away, thank God, but the song does.
There's a remake in the works. It was announced this year. It will be a mixture of live action and CGI with the same anthropomorphic characters from the original, so it's not...
So it's going to be like a Lion King?
Kind of. So it'll be like that Robin Hood, except a more realistic looking fox.
No, I don't like it. Why do it? And there's so many There's been so many Robin Hoods, especially in recent years.
It seems every second year there's one.
There's just a new Robin Hood. Nobody cares. Just stop it.
That will be released on Disney Plus eventually, so at least you won't have to pay for it. Well, I pay for it.
Yeah. Pay for Mulan.
No thanks. I'm going to wait
so expensive.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, we're going to release it in December for free. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I can wait that long. I don't care that much about this film.
I can run down the clock. It's been a quick year.
You don't even have the good song.
Okay, Outlaws, that's nearly it for the show this week. Our resident maid, Marion Nicole, is coming up in just a few moments with a song from the movie, so be sure to stick around for that. You can find new episodes of Magic by Design every Monday, where all magical podcasts are downloaded. Check out our website at magicbydesign.buzzsprout.com to find a full list of podcast providers. We recently debuted on Amazon Music, so you can also find us there if you're so inclined. Yeah.
Good. Yay! Listen to us on Audible.
They've moved it over to Amazon Music. I think you can still get them on Audible, but they're putting all the podcasts they have on Audible on.
Yeah, but it's on Audible too.
Are we?
I think so. I think when you submit through Amazon, it goes on both.
Nice. We're also on Audible. You have no excuse not to listen.
Unless we're not. Whereas, then I'm sorry.
On the website, you'll also find all our previous episodes if you're catching up or feel like revisiting an old favourite. Magic by Design is on all your favourite social media platforms. You can find us on facebook.com/Magic by Design Pod, on Twitter at Magic Design Pod, and on the Insta at Magic by Design Pod. If you're a fan of the show, please do consider giving us a review on your podcast platform of choice, share the podcast on your socials, or even recommend to a fellow Disney fan. Don't be like Prince John. Share the wealth and give us some of your precious 5 stars.
Yes. No, we'll be like Prince John. 5 stars is our tax. Pay your taxes. Pay your 5-star tax.
Give us all your stars. We'll be back next week at the same time, same place, with Disney's 22nd animated feature, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Gareth's going to be very excited for that one.
Bother. Ex-poopered.
But until then, stay safe and remember, it's okay to steal if you're taking from the rich and giving to the poor. Now then, Nicole is here to sing us out with Love from Robin Hood, and she's also stolen some fun facts about the musical to film to to share with us lowly peasants. Thanks for listening, and take it away, Nicole.
Hello, my Disney fanatics. This is your musical correspondent, Nicole, coming to you live from my bedroom. This week, we're taking from the rich and giving to the poor with Robin Hood. George Bruns, a familiar name associated with Disney scores at this point, composed the film score. George also co-wrote the song Love with Floyd Huddleston for the film. Other songwriters include Johnny Mercer and Roger Miller. Roger wrote and performed the songs O de Lally, Not in Nottingham, and Whistle Stop for the movie. Interestingly, the fight songs for the University of Southern California and University of Wisconsin, called Fight On and On Wisconsin, can be heard in the score during the American football-style sequence after the archery tournament. Coming back to the song Love, the song was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song and was performed at the 46th award ceremony as a duet by a young Jodie Foster and Johnny Whittaker, but lost out to The Way We Were. The song is reused in the soundtrack for the 2009 film Fantastic Mr. Fox. The song itself isn't sung by Monica Evans, who voiced Maid Marian, but instead Floyd Huddleston's wife Nancy Adams sings on the track. Now we've spoken a lot about the song Love, it's only fitting that I sing my version this week. I hope you enjoy it. Love, it seems like only yesterday you were just a child at play. Now you're all grown up inside of me. Oh, how fast those moments flee. Once we watched a lazy world go by. Now the days seem to fly. Life is brief, but when it's gone, love goes on and on. Love will last. Love goes on and on and on. Once we watched a lazy world go by. Now the days seem to fly. Life is brief, but when it's gone,